So here we are at Dertosa. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? So the Carthaginians decide to make a trump attempt with actually probably the wrong leader, but they went it with Hanno and they failed. Only on a 0 through 4 50-50 chance would it have worked, but the advantage to that would mean none of the Roman kind of crappy leaders would get more than one momentum. None of them would get any momentum. They'd just get their single action. And by trumping in, he'd get to do something early, which isn't much, really just rally this and maybe play with the elephant. But instead, he's finished, and now the Roman gets to go anyway. So the Romans tried that, managed to build kind of a flank refusal here using that second line. That's going to make it harder to really bust up their army. And an outflank looks pretty impossible at this point. They've already pretty much won the battle on this side. So they're just trying to defend themselves here, crush through here, and see what they can get. Because they don't. It's not going to take a lot of points. Like, 4 of these lights, if they can knock them off the map, wins them the game at this point. So over here, Bostar tries the same thing again. 50-50 chance, and again he fails. So he's also finished, and now the Carthaginian cause is really looking hopeless. Well, the great hammer of the Principe struck, and it just smashed through. We see a couple of lights and a phalanx destroyed just by it, but also a couple of phalanxes running the heavy infantry over here is heading. What was over here is kind of scattering. This really broke the line. Now, after that command was given, a die roll of doom came up, and that ends the turn. Units would continue routing. Romans fleeing here. This guy's going to come off the map. This guy's going to come off the map. This guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, would come off the map. But on top of all of that, the 24 points that's already dead is enough to guarantee a Roman victory here. So this game's over. Hasdrubal didn't get his chance to try to rally his forces or whatever it was that he'd try to do at this point. With those failed trumping attempts, though, I think the Carthaginian plan, whatever it was for this turn, was just wiped out. They lost 2 of their good leaders' actions. They would have still gotten the Numidian cav, but that's pretty used right now. Anyway, there's not a lot here, so I'm going to just tag this to the end of the last video, and I think I'll come back with a review after I clear up a little bit, because we really need one for this game. I'll still be playing them, I think, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to make it through all of them, and I think I ought to say some words about it before I end up finishing all of them, whatever that may mean. The Romans, here we are at, I don't remember what it is, Dertosa, something like that. The Romans launched their velites at the beginning of the turn against the slightly better Iberian light infantry. Now, they pay a price for this, there's no question. They took more than they gave. But what they're doing is they're actually softening up that main line in the center. They can punch through that so easily with it weakened that it seemed worth not necessarily sacrificing, but using the velites in this fashion. They're also using one here to kind of weaken the phalanx itself, but that seems less of a goal. They want to be able to cut through this center so that they can get flanking attacks on the phalanxes, because that's where their real power is going to come. It's not going to come from hitting those phalanxes with their huge defensive bonus head on. And the Roman Hastati have charged forward, slamming in at the center, and they just basically broke that entire light infantry line. They have tactical, they have the shock superiority advantage. So they just kind of wiped it out in one quick slice. They can't reach any further, but that's fine by them. They don't want to hit those phalanxes head on. They really don't. What they want to do is they want to break the center and try to get flank attacks and just wipe the phalanxes out. And I think that's what we're going to see. Well, the Romans finished up their activity more or less with the lesser leaders. A little bit of rallying in here, you can see getting the velites back, etc. And they also launched their cav, kind of smashed a skirmisher out of the way and then ran into a phalanx, which probably isn't the best place to be. I think they're going to get hurt there pretty badly. Over here, they took on one of these lancers, didn't get a very good result, and then didn't get to try to extricate this guy and do something cool with him. Kind of trying to leave those elephants alone. If the elephants want to attack the legionnaire, hey, go ahead. If they want to chase cav around, hey, that's fine too. They just don't want to, well, they can't really attack them with the cav, and they don't want to be completely flummoxed by one elephant out there. Same thing over here. And it's pretty hard to stop cav with just one elephant unit. You need kind of a line of them, and they don't have them here for the Carthaginians. So the Carthaginian wings have moved. The cavalry on this side more or less has cleared the Roman cav away, as well as smacking into another legionary unit and sending it flying. On this side, it looks like something like an outflank may happen. The phalanxes, though, remember from earlier games, if they charge that infantry, they're probably not going to do terribly well. They're very good on defense, and they're good on attack against most things, but the Roman infantry is just so potent. With all the javelins they're going to throw, and then they're not that bad on defense against the phalanx attack. So I don't know if I'd see an attack there. Here we see the phalanx is moving forward. Largely, though, not a lot has happened. We chased one, I think, velite away. The cav, it took some damage, but it didn't get knocked out of there. Elephant came back, hit a Roman unit, and sent it flying. Waiting on the Numidian cav, assuming it gets to actually act this turn, it should be able to do a number on those Roman cav and drive them off, and then maybe be able to support an attack against the infantry. But now we have the Roman leaders mixed in with all these other higher valued leaders. So after a bit of rallying, the situation pretty much stands as this. Hasdrubal was able to do a pretty good job of getting most of his light infantry together. Still got a couple of skirmishers running off the map here, and had a few losses, but you can see the Romans took some serious losses too. I haven't calculated this out yet. Let's see what kind of numbers we got here. 5, 11, 17, 27, 34 for Rome. Fair loss. Here, 6, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So just in sheer losses, we're actually seeing, because most of what the Carthaginians lost are those skirmishers, Rome lost more points this turn than Carthage did. And position-wise, you can't feel too badly about where Carthage is. I mean, they've got their cav doing its job. Is it enough? I still don't think so. But it was kind of impressive to see this infantry recharge itself under Hasdrubal's command. I don't think one line of Roman infantry is going to break through this. I think we need the Principes, without a question, to have any, to be able to finish this off. But I still feel the Romans have the advantage with that second line coming in. We'll see, though. Those Numidians can be really scary. Of course, there's still a bit of Roman cav here. We got some guys who chased off the map, but for the most part, the Numidians showed very good discipline and didn't go chasing anything off. They actually charged up through javelins before engaging, and routed and destroyed a couple of units that way. By surrounding units, etc., they're not really going to have to go chasing them off the map. So that was actually really well handled over there. A couple of units that are still not flipped, but I guess we'll move on to the next turn. So things have become disorganized enough that line commands are no longer really an option, and the Romans are using their lesser leaders to try to pick a couple units of the same type from the same formation to try to do one action, and then take another couple if they get a momentum to do another action. They are managed to break a hole again in, this is just a leader, that's all it is. They should probably be getting out of the way. But they have managed to break another hole in the Carthaginian line. And, you know, it's looking like, well, if they can get the right units up, they can start to do the outflank on this side. This side, it's still a little cluttered. But they haven't made the commands there. They still got somebody here to do one. And then they got the Principes to bring up. Interesting little situation developed here where a couple of Roman legions tried to attack these two phalanxes from the sides. Normally that's a pretty good attack, but the one attacking here had a kind of, it had already taken some cohesion hits. When it rolled its approach, it chickened out, so it left one unit hitting a phalanx in the front and another phalanx in the side. Both units are routed, charging back. Momentum ended there. They did break through some lights though, so you know they're in the position where they can wheel around as long as the Carthaginians can't reform their infantry. And those lights aren't really doing much. They're just a harassment. If you end up trying to pivot, they'll be able to hit you in the flank, which would be bad, but not as bad as rolling up the phalanx line. On the right flank, Hanno launches the Carthaginian phalanxes, and they slam into and do a pretty good number on the Romans. There's no question there. They've got the outflank going. Got all this cav ready to try to take the Principes out. I feel pretty comfortable on this side. Yes, it's a little ragged. We've got a routing unit that didn't get recovered, and there's still a lot of good Roman units on the line, but it doesn't feel bad. This side, I haven't made the move yet, so it's hard to tell. But once that move is made, and we see some of the Velites coming up to just sort of skirmish with these and force them to slow down and not make an attack at once. But once that move is actually made, there's not as much here because of the leadership situation. I only have one leader to command the elephant, the horses, and the phalanx. Over here I've got the leader to command the elephant, the phalanx and the elephants, and another one for the horses, plus a lot more cav, which is going to really, I think, make that whole right flank a lot more powerful for the Carthaginians than the left flank is. Of course, I can pull Hasdrubal over, and that'll actually strengthen this to a larger leadership side and give up the center entirely. It doesn't feel safe because if I expose the flanks of these phalanxes by letting this all collapse completely, I think the Romans are going to have a field day. And on the other side, I haven't gotten the phalanxes moving. I just don't have enough command there, but Bostar managed to get a couple of actions and drive some of the Roman infantry back, destroy some more up here. So he's definitely, you know, doing a number on the flanks there. Well, I spoke too quickly. You know, trying to use phalanxes for an outflanking like that ends up invariably leaving some flanks exposed. There aren't any phalanxes there anymore. There's one routing. The rest are here. Publius, with his reasonable leadership, was able to pick and choose and make individual attacks using legions to just hit, and even Velites, to just hit phalanxes in their flanks, get the huge advantage there, break them, and then he continued on with his momentum, disregarding, you know, trying to recharge his troops or whatever, pursuing them down and finishing them off. Because basically that is his only threat on this side. Yeah, there's the Numidian cav, and he's going to have some trouble dealing with that. But for the most part, if you can get rid of the phalanxes, the cav should be easy. Well, the phalanxes are gone. I mean, there's one left. And the Romans are probably going to try the same thing here if the Carthaginians can ever get this line moving. If they can't, then the Romans will just be doing a normal outflank and peeling it away a little at a time. But this just disappeared all at once. I've not seen a phalanx fall apart like that. before, and it was because I was trying to do this fancy outflanking. They're just not made for it. A quick count revealed that the Carthaginian army is essentially going to break at this point. So, I launched the Numidians, and I launched them really hard. Three actions, 2 momentum actions, and they just kept pressing, activating, reactivating, getting those extra friction for too much action. Well, they've cleared the board of the Romans over here. They're really a potent force. Cav against the flank or against routing units or whatever, and there's now a big pile of Romans. So my goal is not to say, not to win the battle anymore, but at least to damage the Roman army to such an extent that as my army flees the field, they're not following. I don't think I can break the Roman army because it has a 188 limit, and that's much higher. I looked at my count, and yeah, I'm barely hitting the 110 that I was getting. I don't think I'm going to get the Romans up to 188, but I'm going to make them pay for this. So all that really happened, the Romans brought the Principes up. Hasdrubal tried to make an attack on this flank. Certainly not as devastating in either side. Just a forward approach, smashed in, some heavies tried to push, Velites ran back. They got some traction, but not the kind of thing that they need. And they don't have the cav over here that they could have really exploited it the way they do over here. And they also don't have leadership that comes after the man who moved them. So I'm going to count the points, see what happens there. Well, it turns out I lied. I look at the numbers, there was only, 7, 14, 21, 27, 54, 55, 56 points. That should actually bring it to 88. I think I looked at 88. Had that in mind and added that, and that would have put it at the 110 exactly. That was what I thought I had. The Romans lost some 66 points. They're up to 100 now. What are we looking at? 22 points that Carthage has to lose before it goes over, and Rome has to lose 88. I don't think the situation's in that kind of I don't think the Romans are anywhere near the ability to lose that much, essentially. But if we see, Carthage may be able to score a decent amount of additional damage to Rome with this. Luckily, I rallied most of the units that I could and didn't just blindly move forward for the attack. Here I did press harder than maybe I would have. Those Numidian cav are going to be pretty damn tired for the next turn. And I may not be able to do anything too impressive with them, but I have done a lot of damage to the Roman cohort that was here. There's still the Principes, though, in the second line of that cohort. So, I guess we're coming back with some more, because it looks like the battle's continuing. I gotta do the retreats and flip a lot of counters over. And in the meantime, I'll load this up.